Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen Robinson, and I am your host. And today we have a very special guest, Sebastian Herz, who I'm really excited to talk to today because he's an exceptional guest. Sebastian is an accomplished Amazon seller and has been since 2014. And he's not only built two successful brands, but also managed to bring his own products to thousands of offline retail stores, including the largest national retail chains in Germany. Currently, Sebastian is the co-founder of Zignify Global Product Sourcing, a company that has sourced over 2,000 products and saved their clients a staggering $300 million in sourcing costs. And he's catered to a diverse clientele ranging from Amazon newcomers to Fortune 500 companies. Zignify specializes in product sourcing, not only from China, but also from various locations across the globe. Welcome to the podcast, Sebastian.
Arlen, hello, and thank you very much for welcoming me. What an introduction. And yes, like you said, I'm super hyped, super stoked to be on your podcast. What an honor. Like I asked you before, I didn't even know how this whole thing happened. So what an honor.
Yeah, not a problem. And thank you. Yeah, we really appreciate you coming on. I mean, definitely, as I mentioned in the intro, yeah, you've got quite a background, with Amazon and what you've done now with, the product sourcing aspect of your business, which is big stuff there. I know you guys are busy because these days, product sourcing is, it's a very important thing. And that's really going to be the subject of our discussion today.
Nice.
The purchasing aspect of, lowering your cost as well as increasing your sales. A lot of times with e-commerce businesses, the purchasing aspect when they're sourcing their products or the components of their products is sometimes kind of an afterthought. They're always shooting for acquiring new customers, marketing, and a lot of times product sourcing is kind of an afterthought. But as you'll impart to us today, it's really important that you focus on that. And so, we're going to be diving deep into that product sourcing and how to save money doing that. But before we do get into all of that, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your background and how you got into what you're doing today?
I'm good. I'll try my best to keep that, of course, short. What happened actually originally is I did go to university. I studied electrical engineering. I've been with a world market leader in industrial automation for 12 years. And that is like everybody knows Siemens or GE or whoever else, Emerson Rockwell. Not many people know ABB, but it's a Swiss company, world market leader again in industrial automation. And that actually back then took me from Germany after 7 years being with the company in Germany, also to China. I lived 3 years in China, then another promotion towards Singapore. We've been another, I think, 2.5 years or so in there, a total of 6 years in Asia. And, I got to know my better half in China. She's not Chinese, but she's Russian.
Okay.
And actually, just before we left China to move on to Singapore, I had so much spare time because I think in 2.5 years, I've done 7 months worth of overtime. And I got 6 weeks off. That was a lot of work in China.
Right, I can imagine.
Just today, she told actually, we're right now in Greece at the moment at another, it's called Top Dog Summit by a quite famous guy in the Amazon scene, Tomer Rabinovich. And we're here, one of the sponsors. And she just said it today in the presentation to say that Sebastian bothered her so much back then what to do with all the free time, because I'm also back then wasn't really used to like 6 weeks off. So she
Right.
listened in and learned something or found, a podcast that was back then in 2013, 2014 about Amazon FBA, fulfillment by Amazon. And she said,
Okay.
Sebastian, listen to that. I think this is something you could do. And all of a sudden I listened to it. Scott Volker, like I still did
Hmm.
not meet him, but I want to meet him. Of course, he kind of shaped the future life. Listen to his
Right.
podcast, The Amazing Seller. And well, we were at the source in China, sourcing products,
Wow.
finding them and getting started with it. And this is then
Okay.
how everything since 2000 and end of 13, 14 started taking place. We got into the
Hmm.
e-commerce business, still kept the job for 2.5 years until the side income overgrew the main income. And then, snap, a fuse burns through in your head, and all of a sudden you say, come on, let's live the dream, go on a world travel, take your motorcycle and drive from Singapore all the way back home in
Wow.
242 days, back home to
Wow.
Germany after 6 years in Asia, work full time and build your first Amazon business or your first brand business.
Right.
Amazon itself should probably not necessarily be the only thing you do.
Yeah. 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 Wow. That's quite a story for sure. Yeah. It seems like the past several years, or I guess at least 10 years or so, it's kind of been a whirlwind for you. I can imagine.
Yes. I mean, in the very beginning, I was, again, 12 years with a company. Everybody believed I would always stay at a company, aim for
Right.
even higher levels, even higher management position, had a very strong, very quick career. And I also never
Right.
believed I would do that. But then I noticed
Hmm.
after 12 years being with the same company, things like, more years, and you may become less
Hmm.
interesting also for the competitors. And on the other
Right.
hand, you say, come on, back then I was like 30 years old or 31 years old. Why not start living a dream and do something
Hmm.
outrageous? And
Right.
I think it turned into a super exciting several businesses by now, besides the Amazon business, the retail business, the sourcing business, the consulting business. We have our own event company with others together. We help others grow into retail as well. There's so many opportunities all
Yeah.
around I think I don't need to tell you, the
Right.
experts in e-commerce and marketing. There's so many possibilities out there. And if your heart beats
Yeah.
for it, if you have
Hmm.
fun, you love what you do, it's like what people say, you never work a day in your life again. Sure you
Yeah.
do,
That's right.
but majority of course, I mean, you follow whatever you develop your own passion for.
Yeah, exactly. That is so true, and yeah, quite the story there. And I definitely applaud your entrepreneurial spirit and to be able to kind of jump out, like you said, you kind of never thought you would see yourself,
Yep.
running your own company and kind of being on your own. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of a testament to the fact that you kind of took that leap of faith and then kind of followed your gut instinct and jumped right into it. So yeah, definitely kudos to you for sure. Well, Sebastian, well, thank you for sharing that. Definitely appreciate that. And where I really wanted to start today's discussion really is just wanted to see, can you share some, what do you think are some of the most significant strategies for just reducing purchasing costs while maintaining product quality? Because I think that's a big question when companies are thinking of, okay, all right, if we reduce costs, how do you really ultimately still maintain that high quality? I would imagine a juggling act.
And for once, whether directly connected to sourcing or not, but is learning from others, building yourself also a network, work with others, work with experts,
Hmm.
and for sure, maybe not necessary for sourcing, but in general for building your business. What I see a lot is reading. And
Mm.
right now the picture is so pixely. I'm sorry, Greece doesn't have the best internet or the hotel, wherever. I actually I went to the hotel reception because the rest of the crew right now is sitting outside and having dinner at the beach. And I said,
Oh,
guys,
okay.
I need a
Wow.
silent room somewhere. There was all planned. It's like 75 or 80 people here, all seven and
Right.
eight figure sellers, all in the Amazon niche, some nine-figure sellers. And I
Hmm.
said, I need to run somewhere, get a silent room because I can't sit out there with 70 people around the whole podcast.
Right.
And I
Right.
spotted back there I don't know, remember if I can see it, but I think I've seen 1 million followers in there. There is Atomic Habits, I think, standing there. Seth Godin, This is Marketing.
Yep.
Profit Getters, I think, in the fifth book, I could not see the pixely, maybe I didn't know of them. But reading, whether for sourcing or anything, you learn so much. And I don't know how many books I've read in the last years. It's just
Mhm.
it's mind blowing if you
Yeah.
dig into topics that help build your business, and a lot of
Mhm.
that for sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Coming
Yeah.
back to
Yeah.
your
Exactly.
question, I'm sorry for taking such a long route around it, but for
No problem.
sourcing, I mean, one of the most important things is, I mean, in the very basics, most of the people, they do not get enough proposals. You do not
Hmm.
talk to enough suppliers to say that you really know the prices. One of the secrets
I
related
got
to this is don't only get 2 or 3 proposals. When we go source for our customers, whether in China or outside of China, we usually look for about 30 to about 60 potential producers. We
you. Hmm.
search for them, we reach out to them, we get as many proposals or quotes as reasonably possible, compare all of them, kick, of course, the ones out that don't match, or kick out trading companies. We always want to go to the source, to the real manufacturer. And then,
Hmm.
then you also have the leverage and the power of negotiation, because you don't have like just one product proposal on a backup, but you have the full
Right.
confidence as well to say, you know what, I have 14 other proposals. I
Yeah.
do want your
Exactly.
quality. I know your quality is higher. I know you also should charge more money. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I have 13 others, or 12 others, or let's say 8 others who have the similar quality but are much lower priced. I'm not even
Yeah.
talking about the ones with a super, super low price, because
Hmm.
certainly they have a very different quality. But the stamina, the power, the self confidence of going out there and saying, you know what, I have other options as well,
Yeah.
and leaving the break, a pause in there. And they will see,
Hmm.
okay, so if you then paint me a picture of what good cooperation could we have in the future, I'll give you probably a better price.
Hmm.
And a second thing may also be, yes, we do a lot of sourcing in China, but I assume, of course, a lot of listeners will be in the US. A lot of listeners, or they're selling in the US. And thank you, Donald Trump. Thank you, anybody else who is putting anti-dumping tariffs onto China. Many of the products, I think the record I've seen was an import tax of 47 or 48%.
Oh wow.
So if you place an order of $100,000 when your business kickstarts and it works well, and it's quite likely you will make an order, or at least over a year, of
Hmm.
$100,000 to China, you're paying another 47,000 or 48,000 just to import it into the US.
Wow.
Now the opportunity here could be, look into other countries, because
Hmm.
for the same product, you may in Vietnam have 0% import tax, or in
Hmm.
Mexico, or in the US as well, obviously, because you don't need to import it, or in any
Hmm.
other country where there are no anti-dumping tariffs. They're not against the products, they're against products from a specific country.
Yeah.
And if you're then lucky enough, you may even still find cheaper suppliers because you get
Wow.
so many proposals.
Yeah, so I mean, it just sounds like the key thing there is you can never have enough proposals. This is the bottom line. If you think you have enough, get more, because that ultimately is just, it gives you more leverage. You
Yeah.
really know the market then in that case. If you, like you said, you've got 13, you've gotten 14 proposals for
Yes.
your products. You have China, of course, then you have from the other countries, and then that's when you really know, okay, what we really should be paying, and then you're just going to use those other proposals as leverage to the one company that you really want to go with. And yeah, that totally
And if you
makes a
want
lot
to, I
of
can,
sense.
or later probably give you also some also extreme examples what that could mean in terms
Okay.
of savings. But we'll probably get to this later. I don't want to
Yeah.
take everything in the front.
Yeah. No problem. No problem. I would love those examples for sure. Now, when we're thinking about all of this product sourcing, going out, getting these proposals, um, when you're going through that process as an e-commerce business, what do you think are some common pitfalls that a business encounters, when they're trying to save money and on this purchasing process, and how do they avoid these pitfalls?
That's a really good question. Because yes, you may get better prices, but the quality doesn't necessarily need to be the same. So for us,
Right.
the target is when we're improving existing product prices, the definition is same or better quality. That's like the
Hmm.
minimum requirement.
Hmm.
So how do you do that? Well, you don't only check the samples that they do, but you do full quality control. You go
Right.
into the companies or send somebody like us, for example, or anybody else, to go into the factories in each country wherever you're producing it, whether it's in Vietnam or in China or in Mexico. And of course, make sure that your sourcing company, sourcing agent, or anybody you're sending there for quality inspection has the team locally there on the ground to go into the factories. And that's one of the things. The second pitfall could usually be when you do a quality control that you do check what the producers are giving you, like setting you on the table, or you're welcome there. You know, you're being picked up in a 7 Series Beamer car, just picked up, drove there, and they put 3 boxes in front of you. And the first thing you do is you take those 3 boxes and you very elegantly you step over them and tell them,
Right.
like, you know what? Screw those 3 boxes that you gave me. I want this one over there, 7th
Right.
row, 3rd from the top, and the one over there. Oh, and by the way,
Right.
I'm going to take this one as well. You
Mhm.
choose what you want to check. Because, of course, if they send you samples, say, oh, here, mass production quality control, or welcome here are the boxes, we put everything there. Please check the quality. For sure, they will make sure that those are good examples. Doesn't mean that the rest of it is the same, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that makes sense. You can't go with just what they put in front of you, because obviously those products are, you know, they've gone out of their way to make sure those are the top of the top. You got to see
Correct.
what are the average products that are on shelves, you know, further, you know, in the back of the warehouse. What are those things looking like? You know, what's
And
the
most
quality
of the
of the
time,
packaging?
when you have the sayings like it's too good to be true, it's
Yep,
not.
it usually is.
It most likely is
Exactly.
too good to be true. It may,
Very,
though,
very.
on the other hand, I mean, if we sum it up, all what we have done in savings, I think we have more than $500 million, $500 million in savings for our customers.
Wow,
That
that's huge.
you can do massive amounts of savings.
Yeah, that's huge. And then, you know, when you're thinking of those savings, I mean, you almost have to think of it as like the savings is really just putting money in these companies' pockets. So I think you just kind of have to have a mind shift. You're not, yeah, okay, you may not be getting any additional sales, but that amount can really equate to as if you had additional sales. It's just about how you look at it
You
in your
probably
books.
you
Yeah,
probably heard the saying, the real money is made in purchasing, not in sales.
ex-
And I'm
exactly,
saying the real money is made in purchasing, not only in sales. Of course, sales brings
Right,
money as well, but when you buy
right.
cheaper, this is bottom
Mhm.
line profit margin.
Yeah.
And here comes the next pitfall. What I see with more and more also experienced sellers is um,
Mhm.
that they very often think, all right, I want to get my next new products and make
Mhm.
sure that I get them for a really good price.
Yeah.
A much better strategy could be, for example, I'll cut this a little bit short for later. We have one who sells 500,000 units of one product in
Mhm.
a year. German sellers selling in the US, not even on Amazon, just in Shopify. Insane. I mean, selling this with
Mhm.
one product. Now, we kind of convinced them in the beginning to say, you know what, before you invest additional money, it may make sense to look in your current production because you're ordering all the time. You're having
Mhm.
products that are running 10,000, 100,000, or in his case, 500,000 times a year.
Wow.
So why not look currently into the existing products that you have? Again, main target is same or better quality, and
Mhm.
find it, for example, in another country. He used to source it in China.
Yeah.
He had 27% import tax. Product originally was $6.
Mhm.
500,000 units times $6, that's $3 million annual spendings just on this one product.
Oh,
We
wow.
found him the same product. Now test me, like, here, what time is it over here? It's at 9 p.m. Still
Mhm.
sober. We don't drink. How my brain works in calculating. But the $3 million that he spent on the first product in one
Mhm.
year, 27% import tax. There we had 270. Then we get to. Am I correct if I'm going for $810,000? I think
Mhm.
27% out of the 3 million should be roughly around there. Maybe
That
I'm
sounds about right.
wrong. Sounds about right.
Mhm.
So we saved them because we found the product in Vietnam and
Mhm.
saved him 800 and should be $810,000 because there was no import tax, no import tariffs in the
Right.
US. Plus, we were lucky enough, same or better quality, found the product $1 cheaper. That saved
Mhm.
them another $500,000, and then we're at 1.31 million dollars saved every year.
Wow.
That was a
That's
super lucky shot. It will never, never, never happen again because you know what
okay.
it took us? 3 hours of work.
Okay. Wow.
Back then, we only
Yeah.
charged an hourly rate. We learned our lesson.
Gotcha. Yeah, I see. I can imagine after that. Well, you
He's
brought
very
up some, yeah, you brought up some very interesting points, though. Of course, at the beginning we talked about, um, the fact that you have to get all these proposals. You gotta, see where you're gonna go. How you can leverage these proposals to get the best particular rate or cost for your goods. But then, once you get into the business, you start sourcing products from wherever you do. You may be sourcing products from, let's say, Vietnam, some from China, some other countries. Moving forward, like really, I mean, how important is it? Because, you obviously you want the best cost, but how important is it, the role of establishing, strong relationships with these suppliers
yeah.
and, over time? And like, what advice would you give in building and maintaining these types of relationships?
I mean, in the very beginning, for sure, everyone is cold, nobody knows really one another. But
Yeah.
the longer you are in business, and I mean, if you imagine this, it doesn't need to be the $3 million in the first product. By the way, he has
Hmm.
7 or 8 additional products, similar thing.
Hmm.
Um, but of course, the closer you know your supplier, the better you know him. Like, for example, our second brand is fully made in Germany. And for the first brand, I also went over to the factories. I mean, we used to live in China, but also we flew
Hmm.
back and forth, meet with them, and you build relationships. And guess what happens? You don't only
Right.
get to know the salesperson, you get to know the head of the company, the producer, the
Hmm.
owner of the factory. He never really thought of really talking to you because he has 50 other customers as well. Now,
Right.
when you're building relationships with them, it's not only that you have a much closer, much more familiar talk with them. You can negotiate better topics and say, you know what, let's sit down, and in 8 hours, for example, one of our customers, he said, I just went over there, and Sebastian's were like the 8 best hours spent with him. First of all, we built a very nice connection. Secondly, we
Hmm.
discussed the 10 next products to produce with him, because he may
Hmm.
bring other ones as well. Now then, they see you put your effort in there. They see you really want to work together with them. They don't only necessarily give you better prices and show you more products, but also completely different payment terms. So
Hmm.
if you in the beginning did 100% upfront or 50-50, it may come then later on after a longer time, you may have whatever 15% down payment, and the rest of the 85 with whatever 90 days what is it, what's the English word, deferred or delayed
Yeah. Deferred.
payment then, for example, after receival. I mean,
Hmm.
imagine what this does for your cash flow. You
Yeah.
If you at the same time then, now the next level then could be, just because besides the e-commerce sales, is once you have successful online products, I
Hmm.
like to bring them into big box retail stores.
Yeah.
So those big box retail stores, on the other hand, and I brought my first brand in a bit more than 1,000 stores or a few thousand stores in Germany. They, on the other hand, also have their own payment terms and say you first deliver after, and get the payment later on. Now imagine
Hmm.
you have 100% upfront, you get the production cycle, and there it may take 4, 5, 6 weeks, or you were unlucky in earlier days when there was a
Right.
China delivery of another 12, 13 weeks in sea shipping. Then you deliver to the customer, and then you have a 90-day or 60-day, or in worst case, 120-day payment term. Imagine that you're almost stretching like 4, 5, 6 months of the money from investment until getting it.
Hmm.
And those will be much bigger numbers than what you probably sell in a week or a month on your Shopify store.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
Really, for
super,
sure.
super important to build relationships, especially when your business runs better. Yet
Yeah.
at the
Yeah.
same time, always
Mhm.
have also an alternative. So I'm sorry,
Yeah.
don't mean to interrupt. I think it's a little bit the internet delay here.
Oh yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah, I mean, what you said is totally right, and I think I think a lot of times these days, everyone and businesses are always looking for the best cost. A lot of times the whole concept of loyalty to a particular company,
Yeah.
it's kind of gone out of the window. But I think when you're talking about product sourcing, those relationships are it's a little bit different then, because I think it's really more significant to not only, shy away from somebody just because they can't give you the lowest cost, but you do have to look at in the long run, what is that relationship going to do for your business? If you, of course, are going to continue to purchase from them, like you said, they're going to open up a lot more options for you. Like you mentioned, the deferred payment, maybe be a little bit more flexible about payment terms.
Of
the
course.
shipping. They may be able to work with you in other ways that you may not necessarily be able to put an upfront dollar amount on, but
Yep.
that because you have that relationship, it's going to go a long way. Yeah.
The
So I think
same is as well also for the very beginning when you start reaching out to them for the very first times. Because when you come around the corner and say, you know what, my MOQ is 50, and they're
Mhm.
just like, why should I get up for like 50 units? But if you
Right,
start
right.
building with them a relationship already and saying, it's like, look, I've built a business before, I have 2 brands, I have access to big box retail, I'm
Yep.
working with the same influencers, and previously it was a different niche, but we've built
Mhm.
an Amazon business of whatever, 6, 7, 8 figures. And you show them, I always say, please paint them a positive but realistic outlook, let's say for the next 3, 6, and 12 months. Because
Mhm.
then he understands, hey, we're not talking about an MOQ of 50. That's just like an initial trial run or 100 or 200. I want to see, I take the product, I throw it against the wall, I see if it sticks. If it sticks, if it sells well, I'll come back. And if things
Yeah.
run well, plus we have partners around us, we have influencers, we have all the access, and we know how to
Mhm.
build an online business. Um, I'll probably come back in 3 months with about 2,000, 6 months, 5,000, and maybe in 12 months, I'll come back with 20,000 units
Right.
recurring orders. And all of a sudden they'll be like, oh, okay, he's not
Mhm.
bullshitting me. He doesn't just want to have a few samples that he wants to spread on his wedding for his guests for free,
Right.
but he means serious business. And when you
Yeah.
paint
Yeah.
them a positive but realistic, please,
Mhm.
picture, the suppliers themselves, of course, they may get the interest. Otherwise, they
Mhm.
just don't even answer or say, hey, leave me alone with your 50 units.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So it's definitely a two-way street. You gotta bend a little bit. You got to give them a little bit for them to be able to give you those opportunities, those discounts, and those are the type of incentives. It makes a lot of sense. Of course, we talked earlier a little bit about the whole negotiating, using other proposals that you get as a negotiating factor. But wanted to see, can you discuss, the overall role of negotiating in purchasing, and what are some other successful negotiating tips that you've seen with
Yeah.
sellers, other than leveraging other proposals that you've gotten?
Let me give you a little bit of a brain challenge maybe before that. When I dive in there, we think that we're going in there and that we're buying something from potential
Yeah.
producers.
Hmm.
You are buying, but you know what you're actually doing? You're selling them something. You're
Hmm.
selling them the future of a corporation. You're selling them the idea of let's do some business together. You're selling them the idea that you can be a good business partner for them who will bring a lot of orders.
Right.
So there are many, many different negotiation techniques, but again, always need to think they don't need to sell to you. They usually have
Hmm.
tons of other suppliers, tons of other customers, or just pick their customers, especially when you
Yeah.
source from outside of China, whether it's other
Hmm.
Asian countries or especially European or Mexican or US producers.
Hmm.
Usually say, they sit on a quite high horse. And it's like, I have my 2, 3 suppliers, I have my 2, 3 big customers. I have my Beamer, I
Hmm.
have my second car, I have my house at the lake, and in 5 years I want to
Hmm.
retire anyhow. And by the way, right now, summer vacation. And my colleagues, they have
Right.
Corona. I was like, nah, we don't follow it up. So, well, sell me the
Yeah.
idea. And if you
Hmm.
can convince them, of course, to build a good business, a good future together, this is the first step, of course, in negotiation. The
Yeah.
next other steps then will, of course, be, payment terms, like we said. Imagine you're selling one day to big box retail, and that may also be in much smaller terms, like when you sell online. You don't get the cash immediately. You get the cash when the customer buys. And if you order
Hmm.
20,000 units, it doesn't mean that from the first order you get the cash back. No, you get the cash back when you sold the 20,000 units.
Yeah.
The good negotiation, the good practice, the longer relationship can happen even when you have like a deferred payment by the big box retail of 90 days. That this may
Hmm.
then, in the end, overlap almost exactly with your production final payment. So you would pay the 85% nearly when you get the money from your big box retail.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cash flow also very, very super important. And the bigger you go, the bigger you notice like, hey, I need the cash flow because I may not have the money to invest. You may then
Hmm.
get whatever additional help. All of that will help as well. Yet at the same time, with a negotiation, um, especially Chinese or
Hmm.
Turkish or Arabic or so, they are very much used to haggling, to negotiation. It's
Yeah.
part of the culture. It's like
Right. Right.
you go buy something in China, you never
Hmm.
say yes. You directly bring them, and they want to do that. It's the same in the Arabic world, of course. They
Hmm.
want to have the feeling, hey, this is our normal business. We negotiate. And
Right, right.
you also learn terms then when it comes to negotiation. A few further tricks, I think it's common knowledge,
Hmm.
but you just turn around and you walk away. And if they
Hmm.
come running after you, say, hey, sir, hey, sir, you know exactly they have more to
Right.
offer. They go lower
Yeah,
with prices.
exactly. Great tips. Yeah, and you're right. That
Right.
last tip, walking away, you can never be afraid to walk away. So, at
Especially
that
when you
point,
have
if they
15
come,
other proposals.
yeah, exactly. When you know you have the backup there, you walk away, and then if they're really serious and they have more to offer, they'll come running back to you for sure.
Correct.
Well, Sebastian, as we get ready to wrap things up, I wanted to see, you kind of alluded to the fact of different companies that you worked with, but so I wanted to see, could you share some inspiring success stories, from either your own brands or Zignify's clients that demonstrate, the effective use of cost saving approaches and, things that have essentially have boosted their sales.
I mean, for example, the one Shopify seller that I talked about, just he was brave enough or smart enough to say, "Come on, I'm really sick of those import tariffs from my bestsellers. I would like to reduce them. Is it possible?" So
Right.
thinking of whether there is a possibility, don't take your existing business as as a fact. You can also
Hmm.
question that and say, if I'm buying from China, I mean, again, there's nothing against sourcing from China. It's still about 40% of our sourcing projects are still inside China, but think
Hmm.
a little bit further outside the box. Or when you notice, like with Corona, the lockdowns in the factories, the 12, 13, 14 weeks shipping per container, massive, like the highest container cost, I think I've heard, were like 28,000 for a container. While later on,
Hmm.
okay, some of them to the US, they were like 20 foot, they dropped down to 1.6, 40-foot high cube. The lowest one we've then later seen was like 2.2 from China to the US. So there you can of course save a lot of money with the ones who sell online in the Shopify store. It allowed them, of course, to bring out. I mean, imagine those what was it, 1.31 million or so, or
Yeah, yeah.
1.3.2. They just launched complete new products with it. Or when you
Hmm.
have the money you're saving, just imagine also much smaller ones. When you have, for example, on $100,000 order, or even on a $10,000 order, or let's just say for the ease of calculation, another one, if you have $100,000 and you save 12%, that's about $12,000 that you just save on the product, not even talking about the shipping, not even
Hmm.
talking about the faster times. But then that means you have $1,000 more per month.
Yeah.
What can you do with $1,000 per month? You can do quite some nice, if you know how it works,
Yeah, for sure.
advertising. You can start some new products. You can invest into additional things. You can maybe build another business.
Hmm.
The cosmetics company of our cosmetics producer, or a brand in Germany, they were, I didn't calculate what the percentage of it is, but maybe we can do that whatever quickly. They, before he exited the business, made about $26 million a year annual revenue. And in the
Hmm.
first 8 months, by just rethinking the sourcing, how they've done that, we've saved them 1.4 million euros, it actually was. So somewhat equal
Wow.
to dollar by now. But in the first eight
Right.
months, we saved them $1.4 million. This, on the other hand, helped him completely scale another line, bring more products in. He exited the product. He got a very nice multiple, and he's now
Hmm.
building additional businesses. But also for the much,
Wow.
much smaller ones. If I look at my own first brand, just today we had a very good example. Um,
Hmm.
Even if it's just about packaging reduction, when you're selling on FBA or thinking of optimizing your product cost, the packaging size and the product cost, you may get into a smaller shipping fee. Not only
Yeah.
the shipping fee, if it's like in a smaller size box, you can reduce the product, the cost there. And or
Hmm.
even though I have small and light products on Amazon already, which are like about this size, I was lucky
Hmm.
enough in the master carton of this one, I fit 250 products in there, where most of the people
Oh,
are
wow.
jealous. We went in
Right.
and said, we take this box and we lowered it down because it was possible to this one. And now
Hmm.
in the same box where we had 250 units in there, I now fit 3,200 units into a small
Oh,
box,
wow.
ship it in and be done for it for next quarter.
Yeah.
You
Okay.
save shipping costs, you save storage space, you save so much cost, handling, weight, time. Um, And imagine what you can do with all of the help of the e-commerce marketing podcast, with all of the other great people that were before. What can you do with, the backlinks that I look at them, the targeted ads that you had before, the storytelling,
Right.
the order bumps, and all of those things, whatever you can do, or spend it, of course, for example, in OSI affiliate. I mean, get affiliates out there, spend this money on your influencers, give them some money,
True.
make them happy, and they start selling your product. Imagine what can happen.
Right, right. Well, thank you for the plugs. I really appreciate that, Sebastian.
It's
That's awesome.
Come on,
But
there's
yeah,
real
you're totally right. I mean, I thank you for sharing those, those testimonies of things that you can do. I mean, that is amazing. Like you said, you reducing the size of a packaging and getting more units in. I mean, there's a ton of things you do. You have to do it. I mean, you kind of have to think, no pun intended, outside of the box. You got to be creative a lot of times.
inside the box,
When you, yeah, exactly. And this time, inside of the box, how
inside
much can you
pasta
get inside
carton.
of it? Yeah, and one other thing that I'll point out is you definitely want to look at what the big guys are doing. I mean, just look at Amazon. When you talk about packaging, I'm a huge Amazon Prime purchaser. I've got boxes coming to my front door every day, and so I'm always noticing the different types of packaging that they're using. You kind of study what they're doing. What are they doing to save money? What types of packaging? What type of materials are they using? What's in it. So yeah, I mean, just keep an eye out on some of the big guys, and you can learn from that as well. Well,
Yes.
Sebastian, it's been awesome talking to you. I've definitely learned a lot. I know our listeners and viewers have as well about saving money on your product sourcing, which is your bread and butter, and then you're doing big things in this space. So really appreciate your time and appreciate you coming on. But lastly, before we let you go, I always like to switch gears just so our audience can get to know you a little bit better. If you don't mind sharing one closing fun fact that you think we'd be interested to know.
Fun fact. What's the closest connected? I mean, I do love riding motorcycles, and I think I
Okay.
shared earlier that we rode from
Right.
Singapore to, or after leaving 6 years of Asia, we left Singapore on the motorcycle, and we drove home in 242 days, all
Wow.
overland through
Yeah.
Southeast Asia, Asia, Russia, over to Europe, back home to me, to Germany.
Hmm.
We moved actually. We sold
Wow.
everything we owned in Singapore. We donated all the rest. We had nothing but
Okay.
one motorcycle,
Oh, wow.
gasoline in the tank, a spare set of tires, some spare
Yep.
parts, and we've been working full time during our travel. My wife, she was still full time employed. I was
Okay.
full time building a business, traveling 242 days on one horse,
Wow.
um, and well, not a horse, but more a steel horse.
Right.
And it's possible. So anybody who is aspiring there, who wants to say, you know what, I want to build a business or I want to do this on the side. I think if we can show that we've been full time traveling, full time riding a motorcycle, 38,322 kilometers in 242 days, having better
Mhm.
internet in the desert of Gobi in the middle of Mongolia compared to Germany, if we
Yeah.
can do that, then anybody can do that. And you don't need to go those
Yeah.
hardcore ways.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Well, that's awesome, fun fact for sure. Thank you for sharing that again and giving us the detail. I mean, yeah, hats off to you. I mean, that's I don't know if I could have rode from China all the way back to your hometown. I mean, that's almost a year's time span, going and traveling on a motorcycle. So I'm sure you guys saw quite a bit during that time, and I'm pretty sure it was an exciting trip.
The fun fact there, maybe on the other hand, is even though I'm riding bikes for 20 years, just last November I got finally a full brain-free vacation or a work-free vacation.
Yep.
Target was to do off-road motorbike through the Sahara Desert in Morocco and the Atlas Mountains.
Okay.
First day, I blamed the coffee. I had one coffee too much. Small accident, open fracture of the lower leg
Oh,
in the
wow.
middle of Morocco, and have now a steel nail of like this length from my knee all the way down to my foot,
Oh. Oh,
hammered through
wow.
the bone.
Yeah.
So I think the lesson in there is like, don't drink too much coffee, don't be overexcited, and
Yep.
believe that also after 20 years of experience, also stuff like that can happen. But get up, keep going.
Yeah, that is very true. Yeah, it kind of comes with the game. You
It
gotta,
does.
some things can happen. Well, that's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that. Glad you were able to survive that for sure. It sounds painful, but lastly, before we do let you go, Sebastian, why don't you let us know and our listeners and our viewers the best way for them to can contact you? can contact with you if they want to pick your brain anymore about product sourcing.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm so happy, Arlen. Thank you so much for really having me, for giving us all the chance, sharing some stories.
Sure.
I think the easiest, of course, for us, if you want to book a call, and I think this is what we want to offer to anybody who is out here and wants to have a look at their sourcing, we give like a roughly like a 30-minute free of charge consulting to look into your sourcing. And the only thing that you have to do is go to zignify.net. Top, after a few seconds, there will be like book a call. And when you write in there that you come from Ecommerce Marketing Podcast or from Arlen, and then we want to offer to say, hey, you know what, we'll take some time. Let's just look into your sourcing. Zignify.net, Z in the beginning, zignify.net. And if you want to connect with me directly, I'm usually active on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook, and you find Sebastian, the Connector Herz. They started calling me the Connector because I kind of have a solution for everything after running the e-commerce business now for 9 years.
Wow.
And happy to do so. Again, okay. LinkedIn, Facebook, Sebastian, the Connector Herz, a few Chinese characters behind there. I think that will be the way to go. But please also don't forget affiliate. I've done this with myself as well. I used other platforms before as well. It doesn't necessarily matter which platform, as long as you have a good strategy. Right. And I think Arlen there with OSI affiliate, you for sure will have a good way of helping others, bringing connecting brands with influencers. And I just want to say, no, I'm not paid for saying that. This is why they call me the Connector. I fully believe in that this is a way to work, and getting other people to speak about you and your products, getting others, like this is how we grew as well. Others speak about us. We don't even have a salesperson. Okay. If something is good and somebody talks about you, like affiliates talk about your brand. Yeah. It's not you selling it, it's others. That gives a lot of trust, and that works.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. I appreciate that, Sebastian, and you giving us the plug again. Yeah, it's definitely the way to go. And we appreciate you sharing your contact. We definitely encourage anyone interested that wants to connect with you guys and your team to take a look at the website and book that call. We'll have the link in our show notes so people can reach out to you and connect with you there or via your LinkedIn. Well, thanks again, Sebastian, for joining us. I mean, it's been an awesome conversation. We just really appreciate you coming on today, the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.